I like the way that you said I'm tired because of the summit, not any of the after parties. So, which is very true. I know, you know, drinking, I never do that. So, but no, it's lovely to be here in Singapore, and I think for quite a few people, if they're coming from overseas, this might be one of the last panels or presentations that people are seeing. So we'll keep it brief, although I've got quite a few slides. Apple, are you going to make the slides available to everyone? So I'll probably skip over a few or go through a few quickly. So my name's Gavin Allwright, Secretary General of the International Windship Association, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview of wind propulsion, but also just give you a few insights about what we discussed at the summit, which was a 2-day, 24 roundtables. You know, quite a big beast, and we covered a lot of ground in there, and also a few results from a global study or survey that we've done. And wind propulsion is certainly growing. It's being recognized as a significant contribution to the overall zero emissions pathway, if we like. So just very quickly, International Windship Association, it's our 10th anniversary. So I'm only 10, which that would be nice. And we have members, actually over 200 members now, of which probably about 150 of those are very active, all around the world, but you can see quite strongly concentrated in Europe, but increasingly active in the Asian market, and not just our members, but also the ship owners that our members are installing ships on, equipment on, etc. Many more of those are based here in Asia. So wind propulsion technologies, my slides, I think I did them on a slightly different format this time, so my apologies. But we are talking about a zero emissions energy source. And this might be a little bit controversial, it shouldn't be, but it is no other energy source is zero emissions, not greenhouse gas emissions, zero emissions. That means underwater radiated noise, zero. That means any climate impacting emission, there is nothing. It's completely natural. It doesn't need to be mined, refined, transported, bunkered, or stored on board. It's delivered directly to the point of use with no emissions and no cost, forever. Okay? So that is a very significant difference. And I took out the win-win-win line on there, so I didn't have room. So, but we're also talking about zero development time. So zero development time meaning we've got systems in place already. We don't need new crew. You know, most of these are automated systems, but of course they will need some training. And just at the bottom there, a little bit of a controversial one is zero capex. Well, of course, these systems are expensive to put on, but they're using zero cost fuel or zero cost energy. So they pay back themselves. So if we can develop, and there are pilots of this at the moment, where the capex is shifted to OPEX and you're paying each month, so a lease or whatever you want to call it, then actually you can put these on your ship and they pay for themselves within 3, 5, 7 years, depending on what fuel you're using. Wind propulsion trends. So this is from DMV showing roughly the development in LNG and other alternative fuels. But very rarely do you see this with wind propulsion. So I've added our statistics, our numbers to this DMV chart. So you can see it's kind of ticking along. These are the numbers of ships installed over 400 GT. And last year, we had, it was around 60. So we actually finished, I think it was 56 and 8 wind-ready vessels. This year, we're looking to double that. And we've already up to 62, plus 7 more wind-ready, and a pipeline of 100 on order. But those won't all be delivered this year, they'll be delivered into 2026 too. And 5 of those are primary wind, so that's wind power over 50%. Doubling every year going forward. And this is fairly simple for us to do. The production facilities are being expanded. I think there's already about 200 units per year capacity in China. Europe, similar amount. So these systems can be provided without too much challenge. And these are just 4 recent announcements of orders. We're starting to move from the 1 or 2 ships into fleet orders. So Union Maritime has just ordered 34 ships. I think the first one's already been delivered with a mix of wing sails and rotor sails. MOL, I'll just pick out 2 of these. MOL has set a target of 20, I think it's 25 or 28 ships by 2028, and by 2035, 80 ships will be installed with their system. Now, just very quickly, some survey trends. We did a survey which had about 159 maritime stakeholders, including 39 ship owners. And as you can see, there's a kind of mix globally, but quite a strong response rate in Europe. Now, what we did, and this is just a headline figure, we said, okay, if you had 5 options for an energy source, okay, you're only allowed to choose 5, what would they be for 2030, and what would they be for 2050? Now, actually, from nuclear up, that is a very common one, because most think tanks have not included wind propulsion in the energy mix. Remembering that we're providing energy, we're not saving energy. We are saving fuel, but we're not saving energy, we're providing it. But we added in wind propulsion, wind assist, and primary. And the numbers from nuclear up actually coincide very closely with every other survey I've ever seen on this over the last 2 or 3 years. But significantly, if we put together the wind assist and primary wind, it becomes a very significant contribution, that it will be a major part of the mix. Now, of course, this is an IWSA survey, so a lot of true believers are going to be responding to this going, oh yeah, love wind, love wind. But we do get quite a few people going, we hate it, we want our voices spoken. So is this definitive? No. Is it indicative? I think it is, because most of the conversations I have now, wind is a significant component. So just moving on, we got 44 policymakers. I'm not showing the breakdown of where they were from, but 29% of those were IMO flag states. About another 20% were from industry organizations in IMO, and then EU representatives, national representatives. We gave them this question: is wind propulsion going to be necessary to basically achieve the decarbonization that we're talking about? 4 and 5 was basically yes, very, or extremely important. And that's coming together about 84%. And I'll take 84%. You know, the others saying no, it's not going to be significant. So I have to have a conversation with those guys. I'm going to skip over this, but I will leave the barriers for you to take a look at. But primarily this is fuel price, okay? The fuel price is low. Why do I bother saving anything? Fuel prices are artificially low. If we include all the externalities, probably 3 to 4 times the price of fuel today is the real cost of fuel. That's including climate impacts, pollution, health costs, etc., etc. So are we going to increase our fuel costs by 3 to 4 times? No, we're not naive enough to say that. But that's the true cost of energy. Wind propulsion, true cost, 0, and always will be. But there are a number of significant issues: capital intensity, of course, operational route-specific compliance, some safety issues, some maneuverability and stability issues, but all of those have mitigation pathways. Now, very quickly, I've only got 3 minutes, so I don't want to get the wrath of Apple on me. Just very quickly, we've got the IMO strategy. I will be at IMO for the next 2 weeks, which is great fun. I'm looking forward to going back. It's going to be a controversial period. Interestingly, the GHG strategy in 2030 says 5 to 10%, and then most people say 5 to 10% zero emissions fuel. Wrong. It's 5% to 10% of zero emissions fuel, energy, or technology. Wind propulsion, I would argue, fits all three categories. We are a non-commoditized fuel. We are certainly an energy source, and we could argue, well, of course, we're a technology as well. And interesting, just one very short point, we actually have wind propulsion, or wind energy, is included in the fuel pathways in the life cycle analysis at IMO. So, zero-rated fuel source. So it's a significant difference. Okay, I'm not going to go through this. That pink line through the middle is the projected forecast of growth that the EU and the UK have estimated for wind propulsion. What I do want to point out, this is all the policy coming through, there's industry initiatives, the EU initiatives, etc., etc. A huge amount of this is converging around 2026. We will have decided an IMO global levy/fee-based economic measure, hopefully by the end of this year. But we'll certainly have signaled to the market that it's coming. GFI, GFS will also be signaled. EU ETS, Fuel EU Maritime will have ramped up to 100% by that time. That's a convergence of policy, but also we will be, in 2026, we'll have about 200 wind propulsion ships, which means there'll be enough reference points throughout the industry to significantly have that inflection point going up. 46 seconds, oh my God. Okay, very, I'm gonna leave you on that one. Fuel EU Maritime, if you don't know, has a wind reward factor. 1 to 5% bonus if you have wind propulsion, even if you're, excuse my language, but even if you're stupid enough not to use it, you still get the benefit. So put it on, you don't even need to pull it up, okay? IMO considerations, we've submitted to include wind propulsion directly into the formula of the GFI. So it replaces brake horsepower on the vessel, so it gives a component of energy to the vessel. So it's a little bit different to Fuel EU Maritime, it's more vessel-based rather than fuel-based. Now it's flashing at me really angrily. Okay, and this is my last one, and I just wanted to focus, if I'm allowed one more minute, there are links on this page which you can certainly go to. But what we really need to do, and I wanted to take Apo's words very clearly, transparency, honesty, the basis of trust. Now, we are looking at fuel, the market price of fuel, we're not looking at the cost of fuel that we're using. We look at emissions, but we talk about greenhouse gas emissions. We don't talk about climate impacting emissions, which is a far wider group, including hydrogen, which is a climate impacting emission, but it's not a greenhouse gas, so it's not included. So we've got to be honest about this. What we don't want to do is go down a pathway that we ended with stranded assets. We end with bigger impacts than what we started with. So we've got to be, I think we've got to slow down, be careful, and then accelerate dramatically when we get it right. And total cost of ownership, for example. We often just look at the ROIs, we're not looking at the total cost of operation for the lifetime of the vessel. For a ship owner, of course, they're going to be looking at, I want to be in business next week. I need to know that. I want to be in business next year. But we, from a policy perspective, we need to be looking at the whole life cycle of that vessel. 25 years, 30 years of operation. So we shouldn't be making policy based on our returns on investment. We should be making policy on what is best for the industry in the medium to long term. So on that point, thank you very much.